So roughly 3 years ago, here in the radio station where I work, I bumped into another announcer down the hallway one afternoon, and he said, "Hey Al, you like your footy, don't you?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely. Big Richmond Tigers fan. Go the Tigers!" He said, "Fantastic." He said, "Do you know much about, the team structure, the players in the AFL, the coaches, all the other teams?" And I said, "Tim, let's be honest, no. I have a passing interest in the game. I follow the Tigers. That's about it." He said, "That's okay. Here in the building, we are about to kick off a Supercoach League, fantasy football involving the AFL, and we want you to be a part of it. We want to invite you to this." And I thought, okay, I really don't know too much about more than, a passing interest in my team, but the coaching aspect sounds really, really fun. So I said, "Yeah, absolutely, count me in." That was 3 years ago. And over the last 3 years, I've had rubbish success with my team. I pick some hopefuls, they fall to pieces. I'm somewhere towards the back end of the season each and every time we do this around the building. But you know what? I love it. It's one of the best things I have ever signed up for. Supercoach is an app and web-based platform where you get to do what it says on the tin. Play as a coach in the AFL. In this Australian Football League fantasy footy game, you pick your players at the start of the season and hope they perform well enough across the games, scoring enough marks, points and goals to get you the biggest score possible. Anything can happen in a year though, including suspensions, injuries, bye rounds, and then you got players suffering from a lack of performance. That can happen to anyone, which is where the coaching part of this game comes in. You making sure your team is as best as it can be by swapping and trading players out along the way for hopeful, very hopeful, end-of-year glory. Now, there's classic mode where you can play by yourself and you can work on your team with a salary cap, a budget, if you will. So you're not filling the entire squad with the most expensive players before round one even starts. But the mode that I've gotten into and find far more entertaining has to be draft mode. It's a bunch of people coming together, possibly in the same office, taking turns to build their teams from a pool of available superstars and then battling it out one-on-one battles each round as you chew through the season. Towards the end, there's the final seasons, and naturally, my teams have never actually been strong enough to make it there. Not from a lack of trying, though, so I can't really talk on that. But everything else I'm right across, including the fun of draft day. Draft day is the day where the entire group agrees on a day and a time to sit down and work on their teams. It's done in order, and how you decide that order is entirely up to you, although we've had horse races decide our order, strangely. And this year's one, I was actually first in the draft because I was last year. That's how badly my team performed. But anyway, you pick a day, you pick a time, and while you can actually do this online, it's so much better if you come together. You get a big table, you get some snacks, you get some beers, you bring your devices, your laptops, your mobile phones, your iPads, whatever you're using, whether you're web-based or app-based, and off you go. The draft day starts, the timer starts, you've got a couple of minutes to pick a player, and what usually happens is at the start of draft day, you've got all of the top guns there, the best players of the AFL, based on their stats across the season before, pick of the bunch. In my case, first player I picked for this year for my team in 2024 was Bontempelli from the Western Bulldogs, one of my favourite players, did so well for me a couple of years ago. I snatched up the Bont before anyone else even got a chance of looking at him. So as soon as I grabbed him, no one else could. Then it went around the room. And what you find is after a few rounds, those really, really good players, those superstars, the ones that you have on your hit list, your must-haves, they start to disappear. And when you get towards the back end, when you're filling your team, because you've got to fill it across various parts, including the forward line, the midline, defence, pick a ruck, have some on your bench, some emergencies, you start to get to a certain situation where you just go, geez, there's not much left that I can pick for talent-wise. Do you pick someone who's really good but who's injured? Do you pick someone who's really good but is still suspended from last year? Do you bide your time with them on your reserve bench just for that opportunity to finally bring them into play? Will they be as good as they were? All of these questions. But geez, that's the fun of draft day, because you're guaranteed if you get a whole bunch of people in a room like this, filling full of beer and food, and you start picking everyone else's favourite players, Oh, the conversation, the atmosphere, the energy of that room, there is nothing like it. Do I pick a good team? Well, I usually think I do, but then my performance across the rest of the year tells me something different. In 2021, when I first picked my team, I did exactly what every Richmond fan would probably do, and that is grab one of their best players of all time, Dusty Martin. I figured if I just build a team around Dusty, that would be all I need for Supercoach domination. And like a lot of plans, that idea didn't really come to fruition. Dusty did okay, but not great. And the wheels started to come off pretty early too. Trent Cotchin got gastro, Luke McDonald from North Melbourne had a quad injury, Basher Hooley did his calf, Dangerfield got suspended, and I kept forgetting to check the team selection and injury lists the AFL puts out every week. So I'd have players that weren't playing in reality out on the field scoring nothing, and players I should have swapped them out for on the bench, making some really impressive high scores, which don't count because they're on the bench. By the end of the year, I'd made more changes than Wile E. Coyote has had resurrections, and bizarrely, my star player had turned black and white. Yes, while I'd banked everything on Dusty Martin, the stats actually showed that Collingwood's Scott Pendlebury was more the MVP. Dane Zorko was second, and Dusty trailed in third place. Which goes to show that in an AFL Supercoach, you really can't play favourites. Not when there's better players currently, playing better. I didn't come last that year, but I was just one spot above the guy who did. 2022, I'm experienced now, and there's 7 others in the building just as keen as I am to have a bash at this. So we ordered in some beers and pizza for draft day and got down to business. First order of business, snatching up Pendlebury, my best player of last year. I also jagged Dusty Martin again because he was okay. Lance Buddy Franklin was a surprise, but a very welcome addition. Gun player there. Dangerfield came round again, and I also managed to snag a guy called Marcus Bontempelli, who looked promising. On paper, this team, now named the Flavourless Flaves, looked pretty good. But this is Supercoach, where nothing goes to plan, especially when I'm involved. Injury soon reared their ugly head. Buddy Franklin kicked his 1,000th goal for his career and then seemed to go a bit quiet from there. The players who had a terrific round on the bench failed to do the same again next week when I put them on the field. Wins for the Flavourless Flaves were few and far between. I understand now why coaches in the AFL are paid the big money on occasion. The stresses each and every week just this fantasy football thing is throwing my way did my head in. I can only imagine how bad this would go with actual players in football reality. 3 wins, 16 losses. I still had fun, I think. Which leaves last year, which was a bit of a blur, to be honest, for Team Feed the Machine. I don't remember too many highlights, but there certainly were lots of low ones. Like the round of footy where 3 of my players failed to show up and I had them all in prominent positions around the ground. Or when my entire frontline ended up out one round for some reason, and so I had to find a full replacement squad made up of whoever was left on the free agent list, which there weren't many. As you can imagine, that didn't work well. Not a great year for Supercoach. But hey, it's a new year and a new team in 2024, and so far things have gone better than expected for the new group of hand-picked superstars, now dubbed the $2 Stakes. The Bont is back as captain. The ever-reliable Pendlebury is as ever-reliable as I'd hope he'd be, and 6 rounds in, I am currently at an unheard of 4 wins and 2 losses. Still, there's plenty of time for controversy and injury to go, and while I'm currently 4th out of 12th on the group ladder, highest position ever for me, at the moment, given my luck and history with this game, I'm sure I'll be heading to the cellar before too long. But if I keep losing over the years, why do I keep coming back for more punishment each and every year? Well, it's because of one simple reason, of everything else around it. Now, we've already got into the fun and excitement of draft day, and it truly is a sensational day. It's a great social outing, especially when you organise an event around it. Getting friends together, co-workers, family, whoever happens to be in your Supercoach league, in the same place, food and drink. There's the excitement of trying to hunt down your favourite player, building your team around some select superstars. Maybe they just happen to be in your favourite AFL team. But picking someone, you get excited by getting them. Someone else gets disappointed because they missed out. You get disappointed in turn because, you've got a few star players on your list that you'd really like to have in your team this season and someone else steals them out from under you. thinking of the trades that could be happening across the year, because of course you're not limited to just the team you've got. You can certainly offer someone in your team for someone in someone else's team if you're thinking, oh, maybe I could shift and change and do a bit of a swap situation here. That is a sensational start to it. But across the year, the thing that I'm really loving and really finding so fulfilling is the chat. And I'm talking the chat, not just around the building on a Monday. Oh my God, I almost beat you. How close was this? I can't believe I did this or left this star player there or on the bench, or, oh, did you see that injury? He got all the 3 points and then he got hit by a flying seagull or whatever it was. That's fun. It's like the water cooler or the morning coffee Monday, the chat around that. There's also the chat around selections come Thursday, the injuries throughout the week. How's the tribunal going to go? Is your star player still suspended? All of those things. That's pretty good. What we also have, and I'm loving this, is Facebook Messenger group chat throughout the week. And naturally, it gets busier towards the back end of the week as you work out who you're facing each and every round. Are your players available? Are they injured? Have they bounced back? Who did the coaches in real life actually select for the teams this week? All of those important things. But there's also chat as the games progress, because some of the people in our league are mad about football. They're watching the games. They're giving you commentary themselves on Facebook chat about how your team players might be doing, or in my cases, really not doing. So that's exciting. There's memes being thrown around. There's friendly rivalries going on. There's jokes aplenty, and that's the beautiful thing about it. It's not the win-lose for me, because there's more losses than wins, obviously, as I've explained so far. It's more the banter. It's the fun footy chat. For me personally, not being the biggest footy fan in the world, the last 3 years of Supercoach have made me more of a fan, because I now have more interest in games that I couldn't care about before, because I've got a player in them now. I don't care about their whole entire team. I just want to know about that one guy. Did he have a great game? If he has a great game there, in reality, I'm going to have a fantastic round in Supercoach. Did I beat this guy around the office who's been bragging about how good he is? Have I knocked someone off the top of the ladder? Have I got myself off the bottom of the ladder? All these important things, that's what I'm loving. And that's what this game provides me personally week after week. Yes, it would be fantastic to actually be top of the ladder, win every game, defeat every opponent. But, you know, that's not going to likely happen, because we've got some skilled players in our league, or some skilled coaches, I should say, who were very good at picking a team from day dot, great at doing trades, knowing which guy is going to come good, which guy's coming back, all of those kinds of things. You've got people in the middle who have a vague idea of how things are going to go, and I would count myself towards the bottom of that list in the middle. Then you've got people who just want to be part of the social aspect, and they're loving that side of things, the chat, the camaraderie, catching up, walking down the hallway and going, how good was your player? I wish I had him. Could I trade him? So on and so forth. And that's the beautiful thing about it. So to wrap this up, I'm going to suggest that if you're in Australia and someone comes to you one day, it doesn't have to be in a radio station like I am, and says, hey, do you like footy? And you answer yes. And then they ask, do you know much about footy? And you answer no, but they still give you the invitation to join a Supercoach league. Jump on it, because it is fun. You don't have to know too much about football. Just be prepared for an adventure. I have, and I think eventually, if I keep doing this long enough, I might actually get to the finals. Fingers crossed. Good luck, and I'll talk to you soon here at One Man Many Plans.